As you know, House Republicans have signaled that they may vote as early as this week on an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, despite the fact that they haven't shown yet a direct link between Hunter Biden's business dealings and President Biden. Have you seen any evidence that President Biden has committed high crimes and misdemeanors?
No, I don't see any evidence of that at all. I think before you begin an impeachment inquiry, you ought to have some evidence, some inclination that there's been wrongdoing, and so far there's nothing of that nature that's been provided.
So are you opposed to the impeachment inquiry?
Well, if I were in the House, I'd vote against it, unless they were able to bring forward evidence that suggests that there were a high crime or misdemeanor that had been committed. But so far, that hasn't been the case. Look, fortunately, for most people, we're not responsible for the misdeeds of our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. Nothing in my family I'm embarrassed about. But President Biden's son, Hunter, is obviously been a very unsavory person and has had some extremely damaging personal foibles, including a drug habit and so forth. That's not President Biden, and we're not going to impeach someone because of the sins of their kids.
Now, for anyone who's been paying attention to the Biden impeachment and how embarrassingly bad it has been for the Republicans so far, their witnesses have not shown any evidence or even said what the Republicans have been saying. And if you don't believe me, well, here's Fox News also saying the same thing.
Furthermore, much talk about this Bruce Trubinsky, this forensic accountant, and a key witness for Republicans. Not enough evidence yet. Those are his words. Not enough evidence yet to conclude corruption by the Bidens. Jonathan Turley himself said today that the House does not have such evidence to support articles of impeachment, but this is an opening for an inquiry. So fair enough. But the issues at hand here was getting back to second-hand, third-hand information that might or might not warrant further investigation. Well, that investigation is on. This inquiry is on. But the promise of explosive testimony and uncontrovertible proof, that did not materialize today. Now, to be fair, I was off an hour today doing my Fox Business show, and I might have missed it. But I went back and looked at what was said and done during the noon hour to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And it turns out that no such evidence was presented. Now, to be fair, all right, for the better part of 6 hours, I have been following these hearings, save an hour off to do my Fox Business show earlier today. I don't know what was achieved over these last 6+ hours. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. I want to put in perspective here, though, and we are going to legally go through all the details, but James Comer, the Oversight Committee chairman, had said that there would be presented a mountain of evidence against Mr. Biden. It was referring to President Biden. But none of the expert witnesses today presented yet any proof for impeachment. Now, to be clear, this was not about impeachment. This is about launching an impeachment inquiry. But it is worth pointing out that none of the witnesses today were fact witnesses. That means that none were involved in the investigation into the alleged activities in the first place. What's more, none of the witnesses testified today of direct knowledge of what Republicans have been claiming about Joe Biden. In other words, that the way this was built up, where there's smoke, there would be fire. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm going to be talking to some darn smart ones in a moment. But where there's smoke today, we just got a lot more smoke. We also say that the best they could say now, after this 6+ hours of testimony back and forth, is that they're going to try to get more bank records from Joe Biden and his son, says that they're needed to determine if a crime was committed. Understood. But none of that was presented today, just that they would need those records to further this investigation today, even though this occurs after months of Republican probes that failed to provide anything resembling concrete evidence.
The new speaker, Mike Johnson, hardly a resounding "we got it" when he says desperate times call for desperate measures. And the reason that he said that is because James Comer last week was a gaggle of Hill reporters and said, I don't know that I want to hold any more hearings, to be honest. Now, if you had it, if there were any smoking guns around, you'd probably have more hearings.
Well, okay,
and I would
where'd the car come from?